Hello, welcome to Yoga Rachel and Rach. Thank you very much for joining me and welcome to our Virgo Earth practice. So with this one, we're keeping the movement again really slow. We're sort of grounding through into the feet. We're staying quite low to the mat. But we're going to start standing. So we're going to go through a very slow namaskar. We kind of nickname it the Earth Namaskar, or call it the Brahmi, which is another lovely name for Earth Namaskar. But really move nice and slowly. Keep your awareness with the breath. Stay with your breath. So sometimes when we come into a yoga practice, we're either in sync with each other or we're out of sync with each other with the breath, which is sometimes the case a lot more often than we realise. So if I say inhale and you've just moved into an exhale, don't go through the movement until you're in the inhale, or you might even, as you have the opportunity to do so, pause it, enjoy the exhale, and then restart the video knowing that we're on that breath synchronization with each other. So come on up to standing. Keep the feet hip width apart. You're near the top of the mat, so you're not right at the edge of the mat, but you're near the top of the mat, so you're not at the back. Feet are hip width apart, and you might start to turn the toes out a little bit if you need to, because we're going to be working with Malasana, low squat pose. Let the arms relax down by the hips. Roll and release the shoulders away from the ears. Let the arms relax and feel heavy. It really doesn't matter where the arms sit, so you might have palms facing forward, facing inwards or facing back. And just have a few moments standing, focusing on the breath. And you might already be in tune with the breath. You might have already practiced a couple of the other videos before this, so you're making it a longer practice rather than a 5, 10 or 20 minute practice, which is awesome. Or maybe you're just coming in and this is the first practice you're having a go with. So either way, just come back into checking with the breath. As you inhale, reach the arms forward and up, bring the hands together to touch. As you exhale, you might turn the toes out as we start to bend the knees, sink the hips, the tailbone down, find your way into Malasana Yogi Squat. Heels can be lifted. Inhale, lift the gaze, looking up. Then as you exhale, bring the hands down, tuck the chin, push the hips high, turn the toes in if they were turned out, and fold forward. As you inhale, start to lift the chin, look forward, turn the toes out and lower the hips down. So moving really slowly. We can bring the hands up off the mat or they might rest on the mat. As you exhale, lower the hands down, gently lift the hips, turn the toes in, standing forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. As you exhale, step or hop into plank. Pausing here as you inhale. As you exhale, lower the knees. So you might need to pull the hips back, so we keep the hips over the knees. You're going to move into Anahata Asana, puppy pose. So you might rest your forehead on the mat. Maybe you're really extending the arms forward in the chest and the chin fly the mat. Perhaps you have the arms one on top of the other and you're keeping the forehead resting on the arms. Find what feels comfortable for you. So we're finding that stretch, that release for a few moments into the lower back. Inhale, start to lift the gaze, looking forward. You might need to move the hands out. Pushing into the palms, the forearms and elbows, start to tuck under the toes, slide or wiggle the feet back. This time keeping the shoulders over the elbows, moving into forearm plank. On an exhale, lower the knees, the thighs, the belly, untucking the toes, lifting the shoulders. You might need to slide the hands forward, moving into Sphinx pose. Check that you're not just collapsing or dropping into the shoulders. Slowly moving into Pranam, belly down Savasana. Bring the hands out in front of you, palms touching, flare the elbows out as you rest the forehead down onto the mat. Staying with the breath. Starting to slide the hands underneath the shoulders. Your transition into downward dog. You might move through a low cobra. You might be moving into upward dog as you inhale. And as you exhale, releasing and transitioning into your downward facing dog. Pull the shoulders back, pushing the tailbone high. You might really bend into the knees. Walking on the spot. Or just pausing in the pose, focusing on the breath. On your next inhale, right leg lifts, stand up splits. As you exhale, bring the knee into the belly, pull the shoulders forward, have a little hover, and place your right foot in between the hands. Lower the left knee down, try to keep the knee behind rather than underneath the hips. We're getting that stretch into the hip flexors. Toes can stay tucked or untouched, your choice. Inhale, lifting the chin. Exhale, pull the tailbone back, start to lift the right toes up off the mat and move into your Ardha Hanumanasana, half splits. You might need to walk the hands towards you, especially if the hamstrings are really tight. You might keep that knee really bent. Inhale, moving forward, low lunge, lifting the chin. Exhale, drawing back into your half splits, Ardha Hanumanasana. Inhale, pull forward, lift the chin. Exhale, pull the tailbone back, lifting the toes. Twice more. Inhale, pull the body forward, lift the chin. Exhale, pull the body back. Last one, pull forward. You're going to tuck under the left toes to lift the knee. We're going to step back into plank. So we're going to go through this little slightly different vinyasa. So you're holding your plank as you inhale. Now as you exhale, lower the knees, pull the tailbone back, keep the tailbone over the hips. Moving into puppy pose, Anahata, heart melting pose. Moving the hands if you need to, because we're going to move into our forearm plank. Inhaling, pulling forward, shifting the weight into the elbows, the forearms, into the palms of the hands, keeping the hips low. Check you're not holding your breath, and when you're ready to release, exhale, lower the legs, the hips, the belly, untucking the toes, lifting nice and tall through the spine. You don't have to lift the chin, you could look forward, you might even tuck the chin, but check that you're not collapsing, dropping down towards the mat. Focusing on the breath and slowly moving into pranam, belly down, savasana. Hands in front of you, bring the palms together, flare the elbows out, forehead resting on the mat. When you're ready, find your transition into downward dog, so we can slide the hands underneath the shoulders as you inhale, low cobra, slightly higher cobra, you might be moving into upward facing dog. As you exhale, releasing, transitioning into downward facing dog. Focusing on the breath, pull the shoulders back, push the tailbone nice and high. Inhale, left leg lifts, downward splits. Exhale, bring the knee into the belly, pull the shoulders forward, have a little hover first. And place the left foot in between the hands. You might need to nudge it there. Bring the right knee down, make sure the knee's behind rather than underneath the hips. Right toes can stay tucked or untouched, whichever feels comfortable for you. Inhale, lift the chin. And exhale, pull the tailbone back, start to straighten the left leg. Lifting the toes, keep a slight bend in the knee if the hamstrings are tight and you can walk the hands back. Inhale, pull the hips forward, bend the knee, lift the chin, low lunge. Exhale, pull the hips back into your half splits. Inhale, drawing forward, stay with your breath. Exhale, pull the hips back, Straightening the leg, getting into the hamstrings. 2 more. Inhale, lift the chin as you pull the hips forward. So you get the stretch into the hip flexor. Exhale, draw the hips back, lifting the left toe so we get the stretch into the hamstring. Last one, inhale. Exhale, pull the hips back, straighten the leg. Inhale, pull the hips forward. We're going to move through that little vinyasa. So we've got the hands on the mat, tuck under the right toes to lift the knee. Step the left foot back as you exhale into your plank. Pausing in your plank as you inhale. This time as you exhale, lower the knees. You might need to pull the hips back so they stay above the knees. Moving into your variation of puppy pose. Drawing the hips down, drawing the chin, the chest down, keeping the hips high. Focusing on the breath. And moving slowly into forearm plank. So you might need to reach the arms forward if you were resting your forehead on the hands, pushing into the elbows, the forearms, the palms, tucking under the toes, keeping the hips low, focusing on the breath. Slowly lower down as you exhale, keep the chest high. You might need to slightly shift the hands forward. So we keep the shoulders over or slightly back from the elbows. Maybe you're lifting the chin, you might tuck the chin, but make sure you're lifting up tall so you're not dropping or collapsing into this back bend. Slowly releasing into pranam. Sliding the hands underneath the shoulders as you inhale, maybe through low cobra, high cobra, or upward facing dog. As you exhale, release and transition, downward facing dog. Couple of breaths, focusing on what feels nice. So you might really bend the knees, you might be walking on the spot. And just checking in, how do you want to transition into your standing forward fold? So you might walk, you might step, you might have a little hop. And fold. Keep the feet hip width apart. Inhale, halfway lift. Lift the chin looking forward. Exhale, we fold. Inhale, this time as you lift the chin, turn out the toes. As you exhale, lower the hips, finding your way into that squat pose. Maybe the hands lift, maybe they stay on the mat. On your next exhale, we fold. Lift the hips, tuck the chin. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, all the way up. And exhale, lower the hands to the hips. Have a breath. On your next inhale, raise the arms forward and up. As you exhale, you might turn out the toes as you bend the knees, sit down into your squat pose. So from here, we're going to have a little go with a twist. I'm just going to turn around slightly so you can see. We're going to release the left arm in front and then move across. So your arm is in front of your knee. So you're resting the knee to the back of the upper arm. And then slide the right arm along the left shoulder, the chest, the right shoulder, and reach the right arm up as we go into an open twist. You might look up at the thumb, you might look just underneath the arm, you might be looking down onto the mat, really doesn't matter. Bringing the hands together, looking forward, so you're going to reach the right arm across, so the knee is to the back of the upper arm, so the arm's in front of the knee. Take that left hand across the right shoulder, across the chest, up across the left shoulder, and reach the left arm up. If it feels comfortable in the neck and the shoulders, look up. You might look under the arm, you might look down to the mat, focusing on the breath. Slowly moving back to center, hands together. You might have another go with your twist, or we might have a go bringing both the elbows out, so you've got both arms in front of the knees, and then you've got the hands down onto the mat. Start to lift the hips as you lift the heels, shifting the weight forward, keep the chin lifted, and maybe we get a little lift. So with your arm balances, we're rooting into the hands as much as you would be rooting and pushing into the feet if the feet were on the mat. Whenever you're ready, slowly releasing. Bring the hands into Namaste. You might do a few little wrist stretches. Bringing the hands down onto the mat, lifting the hips, step or hop or walk into downward facing dog. Focusing on the breath. So next week's practice that will come out will be starting from downward dog. So you might continue a little practice here. I will pop in a couple of videos here that you might want to continue after this. You might go into a self-led practice. You might move from your downward dog and come down and pause in child's pose, or move into savasana if that's enough for you. Otherwise, I shall see you next week, and we'll be starting in downward dog for our last Virgo season practice. Thank you so much for joining me, and I shall see you next time on the mat. Namaste.